Alright, this is my project. I did three things. I worked on sheet metal a little bit, I did weldments, and I tried some FEA. So I decided to build a dump trailer, something I might actually build one day. Just assembly, some suspension. These didn't want to cooperate with me. I don't know why they're like that. Every time I try to fix it, they go off into space, and it's a pain in the butt. I did create a hydraulic ram, so it dumps. The ram is the limiting factor. I used a mate on the inside, a limit mate that allowed it to go the distance. So there is that. I did assemblies and sub-assemblies. The ram is a series of parts. That's a sub-assembly. The axle is a sub-assembly. The hubs are sub-assembly. There's one sub-assembly used for both sides. The hinges right here. It's one bracket that I used 5 times on each hinge, but because it's a sub-assembly, I'm able to use the same sub-assembly twice just to make building it easier. Same thing with the suspension, this bracket, the spring pack, the shackle, and the hanger there are all one sub-assembly. Making the hitch, that was interesting. Basically it's just a series of sweeps and such. Alright, let's look at the shackle. The shackle, I used the sheet metal with. When you do sheet metal, it's really simple just to start with a basic sketch, and then you extrude it up. That gives you your state, your base, your starting from. And because for some reason when I wanted to do the Heim, this part, it wouldn't allow me to make it wider than the base, so I made a separate sketch to make it as wide as I wanted or needed. And then it's just a matter of a couple clicks, just like doing a edge flange, where you just click on the line you want. You can do the same thing with the Heim. I'll do it back here, where you give it how many degrees you want it to go around. I didn't want it to go all the way through or into my part. I wanted a little bit of gap. And the radius, very important. It's the radius that you use there, not the diameter. And then after that, it was a matter of creating a couple flanges. Well, the flanges are interesting because when you create a flange, it literally just creates a profile, a sketch, and kind of builds the fillet radius right there for you. What had happened was when I created this one, it was like on the other side where it was just all the way up here square and it was interfering. I wound up, you can edit these profiles just like you can a normal sketch. And so instead of being square, I extended it, I gave it a hole in the end, I gave it a radius. That way when I was done, it cleared the part. It could be welded if it needed to be. And it gave me enough tongue on the end. I did the same sketch for both sides. when it gave me enough tongue on the end, it allowed me to bend the ears down so the spring could fit in between them. So, just the one piece. For whatever reason, flatten does not work with this part, but unfold kind of does. So you can see, it's just another way of making the part flat, so you got the cut lines and everything, the dimensions you need. The thing with the difference between unfold and flatten is if you make modifications to the geometry, like punch a hole and flatten, it doesn't like that, and it kind of screws everything up. So, that was pretty much this part and the big tub, the main tub for my this part right here for the inside of the box. It's all one piece. Not really manufacturable because it's like 20 feet. It's 6 feet across and 2 feet tall, so 10 feet, a sheet of 10 feet across and 10 feet, 12 feet long would be needed to make it. And I don't know if they make them that big. But that was just kind of like my first test playing with the sheet metal to get the understanding down. For weldments was interesting. I think I spent more time in that. Weldments is kind of simple, really. It's literally you just start with a simple sketch. That's pretty much all I did. I don't know why I made it 2 sketches. I should have made it 1, but it was me learning. After you create the sketches, you come down and you select groups. Like in this case, I did 5 groups, but I could have done them all as one group. So any above this affects every group in the group list. Below the group list, everything affects only the group you have selected. So what happened was, I created the dimensions exactly at the 6 by 10 I wanted, and when by default, like group 3, 4, okay, profile. By default, the profile, the weldment members, I'm using 2 by 3 here, quarter wall. The weldment members are center of the profile. Well, that made the box too small, and I couldn't put my vertical posts on it and have it attach. So one thing you can do is you can select the different points of where you want the profiles. So why won't you go back? Undo? No, undo. Cancel. So that's why I have the several different profiles, because for this one you can see this group, I select the outside edge there, that group, top, the inside edge. I basically had to select a different edge for each of the groups. That created my base frame. Then, as you can see, I created 3 more sketches in the vertical plane, and then it's just a matter of doing pretty much the same thing all the way around. See, I did it in different groups because I needed to put the profiles that it uses and extrudes the tube for into different areas. Like this back wall is, the inside of them, and then same thing over here. It's just that corner of them, opposite over here, and that's how I did it. You can always create, if I wanted to, I could create a new group And then you just select a line that hasn't been selected, and it'll draw it up for you. That's pretty much Weldments. There is another thing in Weldments. Oh yeah, basically, and so you can also, I also created another sketch. The bottom of the pan, this space would be too unsupported, and it would just collapse if I put any weight in it. So I created the sketch of a series of lines and attached angle iron to it. It's just 1 by 1 by 1/8 wall, and it's pretty simple. You just go through and select all the lines. I created for my sketch, I just did an offset from here and then just patterned it down and then mirrored it. So I had 2 identical patterns. And then you just go in, you can figure, I could do C channel if I wanted. I could put in something ridiculous. And you can see how it changed the pattern. And I can select alright, well, for FEA it was a little bit more difficult to learn. It does not like large assemblies. You can see I had to hide my rack around the tub. I basically have the bars on the bottom, the main frame, and the sheet metal tub. Doing this, so normally you go through, select a new study. I've already got one selected and created. You create the fixtures, which make it, and let's mesh it, create mesh. Okay, takes a couple seconds. And you get something that looks like this from a mesh. Fixtures are with the Weldments, because I used Weldments. There's every time one of these beams, either channel or the L brackets or the other any members come in contact, it creates a point. Well, I, for whatever reason, select the center point as as fixed points. They're non-movable. They stay put when you add stress. For loads, I wanted you can select whatever surface you want, and I selected the inside of the bed because that's where the weight's going to be, and you can select different units. In this case, it's pounds of force, and it spreads it all over the indicated area there. And when you get done with that, you get those 3 things, main things selected, figured out. Come up here and hit run study and wait for 15 or 20 minutes. After you wait for the process to get done running, you can see this is one of the deformation charts that it gives you. You got 3 to choose from. This one just shows the most. You can see the bend of the members and the sheet metal where it is, but the weight for some reason didn't really affect the main frame. Now it looks like it's a lot, right? I mean, I used 12 gauge sheet steel with bunch of 1/8 wall L brackets. Looks like it's bending a lot. It's because it's visually deformed by a scale of almost 21 1/3. So it's just a way to exaggerate how bad the bend is. It'll always draw at about approximately the same amount of deformation. but the higher the scale, the less the bend will be. The closer to 0, the more realistic this will portray. So, kind of cool. It's interesting to see how the forces are applied across something like that. Thanks for watching.